Molweni, my name is Mudinda Mbebana. Welcome to the Chosen Generation. Today we are discussing broken men in the society. Do we have broken men in the society? Or maybe I should ask, when was the last time you checked in with the men in your life and checked if they are really okay? Are these men or women safe with these broken men? That is what we are talking about today. We have guests who are going to help us unpack this question today. We have an academic from the University of SMU. We also have Elder Skosana, and we also have our brother Tsepo. And they're going to help us unpack this issue and go a little deeper into it. We encourage you at home to share your views with us on the hashtag TCG on SID. Let us know what you think about this subject. Right now, it's time for us to go into the discussion.
An abusive man is a broken man. That's what I'm saying. Probably the way you're not raised, but why would you abuse somebody? It's something that's from your past. It's something you need to deal with.
A broken man is one who doesn't know or who is not in tune with who they are internally. So they are always conflicted. So you'll find that because they're broken, whatever they do tends to hurt the next person who's normally close to them.
A broken man is someone that has not healed from past relationships. They are still carrying their pain, throughout relationships. And it becomes problematic if you meet such a guy. They haven't dealt with their past, they'll, for example, compare you with the previous ladies that have hurt them. So that's my definition of a broken man.
I think a broken man is somebody who doesn't have a clue about what being a man is, or they have a very jaded idea of what that actually is. They tend to deviate frequently from what being a true man is.
Firstly, they have to identify that they've got a problem. The moment they know that they've got a problem, then we can seek for counseling. I feel like men are shy for these things because they feel like it's ladies' things. Men have to be tough, and it's not always the case. Men have to open up if they are hurting.
I think it needs to be through really re-educating them about what being a man is, right? We live in a time where many men are quite stubborn over what their definition of what being a man is, right?
I think it's high time we also give men a platform to speak. Women are always given platforms to talk. Their rights matter, their feelings matter, but what about men? And if you check at the statistics of men, people that are committing suicide, most of them it's men. So ask yourself why that is happening. It's because men have been quiet for a very long time. It is high time men are given a platform to speak.
Right, let's go into the issue at hand. In the introduction, I was speaking about broken men, which is in fact the topic for this episode. So I would love to take your opinions, all of you, if possible. Maybe I'll start with you, Vaughn. Do we have broken men in the society? And perhaps the second part of that question, what are broken men? Yeah.
I think that's quite undeniable, particularly in a post-apartheid South Africa.
Yeah.
There are men, matter of fact, a majority of the men right now, one would say are already broken men. So basically to that question, we do.
Yeah.
We definitely do have broken men in our society.
All right. Brother Skosana?
What I can say is that when it comes to answering the question that do we have broken men in the society,
Yes.
it's a non-debatable case. We do have. You can see by the way they are responding, especially when it comes to when we are talking about the gender equality. When they respond, we can pick that men are broken.
Okay, all right.
You just see.
That's interesting. I think we'll go deeper into that when we go to. Maybe I should take your point there.
Yeah, well, I think I would also concur with them that indeed we do have broken men, and if we didn't, there wouldn't be as many organizations that are trying to, fix this broken men. The 50-50 policies, the adapt, the women against men, and all these organizations are aimed at one thing, at fixing the problem that we're discussing today, which is this broken man.
All right, that's very interesting. I mean, staying with you, what do you think is happening in the mind of someone who goes and who rapes, abuse, and even go to the extent of murdering someone? Walk us through the mind of a man who does that.
There's a state of progression. It starts with small and petty things. Let us first of all say, by design, man is supposed to be the provider. Man is supposed to be the caregiver. Man is supposed to be the umbrella, And for some reason, the world has been able to drift against the very structures that were supposed to make men to be, the provider, and as a result, you find a lot of people who are spiritually and internally bleeding, who are not at peace with who they have come to become, who they have become, and as a result, we are in a society where man feels that he has been misplaced, but however cannot place himself back into the correct stature. And as a result, it is a frustrating thing. And from then, there's progression.
On that issue of progression, maybe I can bring in Vaughn.
Yeah.
Maybe your ideas on this. What is happening from stage one? On the stages that lead men to commit this abuse?
I think, in truth, firstly, it's which becomes very hard, because we're having this conversation, but stage one is so it's retrospective. One, it's not a mistake. I think particularly, Black South African males have just gone through something that has really offset them. One, and that's just very, those in the mental health space will, go in and really delve into the research of that. But there's one thing that's quite undeniable about Black South African males is that we are unnormally violent.
Okay.
Like it is not seen anywhere else in the globe. Before we even talk about the violence that we direct towards our women, in a manner that is not seen anywhere else in the globe. I think South Africa consistently, our violence, violent crimes stats are always top 3 globally. That's something that is clearly talks to a problem. Now, then you talk about the violence then directed towards our women. And I think as much as it's masked by the same thing, but they have sort of similar roots. Whatever this is that's making us violent, for some reason that need to act out in a violent manner, whatever it may come from and whatever it might be the root of, I believe the insecurity and the need to dominate women, particularly physically, stems from the same place.
Okay.
And if I can just quickly jump in there. One perspective needs to be observed here, that it is usually, I'm not trying to classify anyone, but it is usually they're not so educated. It is usually them. You get my point. What I'm trying to drift to is, it is always a person that cannot intellectually be in charge that reverts to the one thing that children and women don't have, which is strength. So if you find yourself in a position where you're able to reason your way out, children of today especially, they have this $1 million question, why? If you cannot answer the whys, sometimes violence becomes your escape route, because you are endowed with these questions that you cannot so much answer. And as a result, you revert to the one thing that you're sure, because majority of us men are not men bashers. We direct our energy at children and women who are in less powerful positions or less strength or less. You get what I'm trying to do.
Maybe
I think
there.
before we get into, I see it's getting hot. Before we get into this, let's take a break. Let's take a break. Is that okay? Viewers at home, you can also share your ideas with us on TCG, on SID. Let us know what you think about this. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Chosen Generation. We are still speaking on this hot issue. Before the break, we were talking about the laying down of intellectual thinking and using power. And we want to go deeper into this issue. Please continue to share your ideas with us on the hashtag TCG on SID. Let us know what you think. Vaughn, before the break, you wanted to add a little bit more on this idea.
Yeah, especially, I love what he mentioned, the whole intellectual thing, and I'd rather, also just to add to that is that, it's not always just only the intellect, it's a lot as well about the emotional intelligence, about meaning that is that the self-awareness, that you find yourself in a position where one feels empowered, overpowered or something, and you resort to violence. And sometimes you find yourself where you're just enamored with all these issues. You're stressed, and sometimes, sometimes men do not have the emotional, range to go through all the emotions. It's either joy or anger. With some men, you don't have a sad, you don't have a disappointed. We do have those emotions, but we can't relate with them easily. So we'd rather go to exactly, So that's why I'm saying it's the emotional intelligence as well to be aware that I'm in a position where I'm feeling disappointed, I'm feeling stressed, I'm going through all of these, and be able to channel that and deal with those feelings rather than take that and channel it into anger. I think,
maybe let me bring you here. We've spoken about the power balance. But what about the feeling that as a man I must provide? Maybe I lose my job and there's shame that I can't provide. And as you are saying, I don't have the ability to to communicate that. Do you feel that that burden that has been placed on men is also a contributing factor to the violence that we see?
I cannot say that can have an input of bringing violence. But that thing that as a man, I must do this, it hits, but it doesn't drive.
Okay.
We cannot make an excuse of that. Because as a man in the family, you lead the family first by what? Communication. So if something that you wanted maybe comes up, that maybe you have something that you wanted to, we are living in a time whereby our kids, most of the time they have this thing of, if it's my birthday, my parent or my father must do 1, 2, 3. And then now you are not working, you don't have that. You know what, as long as you are not good in communication, then you are going to decide alone. Because now you are communicating with yourself, not sharing with anybody in the family. Then when now they start coming to ask those things, it's like now they are provoking you. That's where now you will respond negative and it will become that.
So what you hear is, you're saying I can't do, instead of hearing...
Instead of hearing from them, what are they saying?
I can see the evangelist is burning in his chair.
I'm touched by this. Actually, two things I want to bring emphasis to. That one, I'm glad that you mentioned the issue of emotional intelligence, which also my elder Kangelani touched on. That it is not so much as what happens to you. It is rather how you respond, how you deal with what happens to you. Because I'm sure in every household, there's that cry, Daddy, what am I getting for birthday? But you see, it comes back to the point that I had mentioned earlier, that intellect is important in how you deal with these issues, because it is in how you deal with your feelings first that results in how you deal with the feelings of the others. So I think that is a very technical and a difficult thing to master. Controlling your feelings and being able to, deal with problems
I
that
think
come your way.
what you're saying is very deep. I think I want to add a different layer or another layer to this. Maybe Vaughn, you can assist.
something.
Or you want to say something before
Yes.
this? That's fine.
You know what I have picked
Yes.
up, ne? I have picked up that immediately, if you're a man,
Yeah.
that thing of saying I am the head of the family,
Okay.
and then if it comes to your mind and you forget that you are the head of not like you are the head of the family,
Yes.
then once you forget that, what is the family?
Okay.
Because now, yes, you understand that you are the head of the family. But now the problem, the way you are interpreting your interpretation on that issue of being a head of the family, that's where you get lost. You know, some men, like some in the society there, you know what they do? Like, for example, if I'm leaving, I want to go somewhere, maybe I want to visit you. I don't talk to the family. I just disappear. But if now it's my wife who is not there, I have to bring questions and then start to be violent, and then because of I have that one thing that says I am the head. But what about the other people that are there?
That's exactly where I wanted to go. Right. Now, what about in the case where you are unemployed and you cannot do that? You cannot just get up and go. Now there's the frustration that the way you used to live, you cannot do it.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that psychological trauma of a provider man, the black man being unemployed? What are your thoughts on that?
And that's a very, especially now, ever since the pandemic, that's such a common, situation we're finding, even before the pandemic, I mean, the unemployment stats in South Africa were really not the greatest. So it's a common thing we're dealing with. And then, it's a very tough one, to sort of address, because, you sort of need to undo an identity that somebody has formed from youth. Okay. Remember, this person does not think now when he's married that this is what being a man is. No, like it forms the DNA, his makeup. This is what he's always seen a man to be, and this is what, so when you strip that away, that identity, even for the good, it's going to cause a lot of pain for that man. It's going to come with a lot of rejection because you're going to be taking away a standard that he has, had, to say that even if he does not always meet to that standard, but that has always been his true north, that is his compass. So now we are saying, no, let's move this north. It's not here anymore. It's here. That's going to come with a lot of pain, but it's something that needs to be done. But I think a lot of it as well just really comes a lot from conversation and then vulnerability, which we find very hard to do as men. Being truly vulnerable to say, well, this is my position. This is my position and this is where I am. This is what I'm able to do. This is what I'm not able to do. Keep the love. Keep the love in the family. The respect stays the same. And I think it's easier then for us to navigate that space.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to go on a break. I guess what you're saying is that African men, you are not your job.
Exactly.
You're more than that. And I would like you to share your views on the hashtag TCG on SID. What are your thoughts on this issue? What is your experience? Maybe you can share your stories with us. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to The Chosen Generation. We are still speaking about this burning issue, and my guests have been really helping us to get to the root of the problem, and we also would love to hear your views. Tell us, what do you think? The hashtag is TCG. on SID. What are your views on this issue? Gentlemen, I want us to now look at some of the solutions to the problems that we have pointed out. I'll start with you, Evangelist. What can we do? How can we help a man who is now beginning to see that reflection in the mirror? Wow, am I like this? Where do they go to? How can they save themselves from themselves?
To be honest with you, I think the rehabilitatory process starts with us first identifying where we went wrong. Because, for us to go forward, we are sure we've steered out of the correct path, but we cannot get to our destination unless, we take a breather, a step back, and then try and look where we actually lost the path, because you might find that on a Y-fork, we're supposed to take left and we went right. But I think, more importantly, I've seen this happening in a number of avenues where I have been invited and where I've been speaking on the matter. And I think, to be honest with you, if you go back, you actually retracing your foundation. Nobody's born bad. No one is born bad. We're all born clean slates. And I think I will take now assistance from the book of Genesis in chapter 1, verse 26. The verse says, let us make man. Not woman, not children. What that interprets to me is that, it will not help for us to be discussing rapes until we rehabilitate the men.
Okay.
It will not help for us to try and find out what women have done to deserve to be in the predicament that they find themselves in. It will not assist us to move forward, lest we move back and restructure this man that has lost his image, that has lost the likeness of his creator. And I think that is where the problem starts.
I think what you're saying is so powerful. But I guess maybe bringing you guys in, how do we do that? How do we restructure this man?
So, Mdinda, and I think, as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, when it comes to ladies, there's so much in society that, seeks to make sure that they act accordingly,
Oh, okay.
A lady doesn't do such. A lady doesn't do. There's so much in society.
Yeah.
How about we have that for males as well? Where as a society we become preoccupied with making sure that males act in a particular manner. And that's, I think, what could help. Another thing, I think, and that's, I think, for those of us in our 20s that have already gone through this space of being wired in a particular manner. But I'd also like to say that there are younger men coming up, young boys, little boys. And I think, it would be worth it to put in an extra attention to them, to make sure that they don't now grow up, with the same sort of standards that they thought, that we thought, or our grandfathers thought, that this is what makes a man. So I think we have a chance with these young ones, to teach them, to come into a full range of emotions, to know that, no, you're human. You can feel sad, you can feel disappointed, you're allowed to feel ashamed. It's okay, it's a normal human experience. Go through that, it does not make you less. I think that we have a chance with these young ones to do that. In terms of us, we need to now get into a corrective manner of our behavior. We need to now stop, hey, Mfethu, you don't do that. And I think once we get to do that, and certain things, we start to see certain things as embarrassing, as not a norm anymore. I think that will help us.
So in essence, we need to rewrite the bro code.
You need to rewrite that whole bro code.
Into something else. Mr. Kangelani, what are your views? How can we solve this?
I think what we can do first, we need to look at the society, say the community of Christianity. Just that inside that circle only, not going out. I think if we can first go back to the roots, that we understand the fact that we were created. And then in that creation, when God was creating, there are two things that are mentioned there. That man was created in the image and glory. I'm talking about man. I'm not talking about human beings. I'm talking about man. Yes, I want to stress on that one. That when God says, if you can read the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, go there to verse 7, it will tell you that man was created in the image of God and in his glory. In other words, whatever I am doing as a man, I must glorify God. Whatever I am doing. So if ever anything comes as a man to me, what must I do first? Is to think that what best can I do to bring this thing in a correct manner or a correct way? Not just to act in each and everything before using what? Your common sense. Because most of the time what I have discovered is that we are fast when it comes to action. We are very slow now when it comes to thinking. And lastly, what I can say is that if men maybe can adopt this system of like what women are doing in the society. You know, women sometimes they have these gatherings. Men, they don't gather. When you see men gather there, they are drinking something that is going to bring life. So I think we need to adopt some of the things from women because they are doing something good. You know, as December is coming or holidays, big holidays are coming, you will see women coming together, doing something that will make them to enjoy with their families at home. So they gather there and then they do something, some collections and whatsoever, and then they share.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for assisting us to at least take off the top layer of this subject. You have really been great. Thoroughly learned a lot and enjoyed the conversation. Man. Thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure. Man.
To our viewers at home, tell us what you think. You know the hashtag by now, TCG on SID. Let's continue the conversation. And lastly, I would like to say, you know, God wants to heal the broken man. And perhaps, like Zacchaeus, he wants to sit with you and sup with you and mend the broken pieces. Won't you give your life to him who saves, who sanctifies, and satisfies? See you next week with a better topic than this one. Goodbye. See you later.